Hey, what's up? All right. So basically, what I want to start off doing is I want to get a review column going on about NFL. I don't feel that there is enough talk about the NFL that there should be, and that needs to change. So I'm gonna be here every Monday night at 11:30 or Tuesday morning, recording a video on my personal review and opinion of the past week in the NFL. So this week, let's jump right in. I'm a Philadelphia native, so let's start talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. Donovan McNabb coming back from a broken rib injury. One of the most painful injuries, and that potentially can get a lot worse. I've suffered from broken ribs before. It's extremely painful, excruciating. Donovan McNabb having to wear that flap jacket to ensure that his ribs didn't get any worse. A lot of people wondering why are we bringing back Donovan McNabb so quickly if we have this comfort with Kevin Kolb. Kevin Kolb put up 300 pass yards in 2 games separately. Uh, threw a couple touchdowns. Brent Selleck, Deshaun Jackson, his two favorite targets. So why did we have this urge to bring him back so quickly when we have that kind of comfort with Kevin Kolb? And it's plain and simple because Donovan McNabb is a football player. He loves to play football. So this week he wanted to come out. A lot of critics said do not expect a lot of Donovan McNabb. Well, he came out on the field and proved a lot of them wrong, throwing for 16 of 21 passes for 285 yards passing, 13 yards rushing for Donovan McNabb. First drive, 13-yard rush by Donovan McNabb, followed by a 51-yard touchdown to Jeremy Maclin. Jeremy Maclin coming out of his shoes. He's had a real quiet week so far. Real quiet career. Week 1 didn't do a lot. Week 2 and 3 wasn't a target of a lot. He's been used a little bit in the Wildcat. Not a lot so far in matters of the West Coast offense that the Eagles do have. This week came out on 8 catches for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns, showing Philadelphia fans why we drafted Jeremy Maclin. Tampa Bay is struggling a little bit in the quarterback situation, obviously. Byron Leftwich not able to get the job done, lost the job to Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson is now officially the starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, it's really Josh Johnson did everything he could. Tampa Bay does not have the offensive weaponry to be formidable against a defense like the Eagles or against any defense really in the NFL. Their wide receivers, they can't seem to run their routes correctly. There's a lot of miscommunication between quarterback and wide receiver, and there were a lot of mistakes made. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a chance to defeat the Eagles. They had a lot of missed opportunities, left a lot of points on the board. Um, but anyway, so the Eagles pick up a big 33-10 victory at home in Philadelphia against Tampa Bay. Next week they'll head into Oakland Raiders, who have the worst pass defense in the entire league, unquestionably the worst team in the NFL right now. And I predict a Philadelphia onslaught against the Oakland Raiders, and they're going to need that because after that, once we get into Week 7, the Eagles will go 3 straight division games. They're last in the NFC East right now only because they haven't played a division game this season. So then they're going to go on a 3-game series against all 3 of their division rivals. Very key to have everything in order going into that game. So I think this and next week against Oakland Raiders will be a good confidence booster for them. Moving into the big talk, Denver Broncos defeating the New England Patriots in overtime, 20-17. Matt Prater with a huge 41-yard field goal to end the game. Uh, Extremely big news. Josh McDaniels, as everybody knows, is the former student of Bill Belichick. Obviously, great mutual respect between the two of them. They didn't meet on the field for a handshake, but they did agree to have a coaches meeting after the game, which they did, in fact, have. Belichick congratulating Josh McDaniels on a job well done. Obviously, he's learned from the best. So, obviously, I think Denver is greatly benefited from the trade with Kyle Orton and Jay Cutler. A lot of people at the beginning of the season looked at Josh McDaniels as if he had 5 heads when he decided to trade their franchise quarterback, Jay Cutler, over to the Chicago Bears in exchange for Kyle Orton. Kyle Orton did not have a great season last year with the Chicago Bears. They were having a little difficulty deciding if they want to use Kyle Orton or Rex Grossman, but obviously I think both teams benefited from the trade. Denver Broncos 5-0 right now. First time they've had a 5-0 start since 1998 when they went to and won the Super Bowl. Kyle Orton feels much more comfortable with Denver's offense with Eddie Royal and Brandon Marshall. And Jay Cutler obviously feels much more comfortable over in Chicago with Devin Hester and many of the receivers on the Chicago team. So big win over there at home. Big win for Denver Broncos. It was very important for them to win that game. Moving into Kansas City and Dallas. Obviously, a expected domination for the Dallas Cowboys. They've been a little shaky. Tony Romo hasn't been able to get into the rhythm he's had in recent years. A lot of that's due to the loss of Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens was his go-to guy, despite the fact that T.O. was actually second last year for most drop passes in a single season. second away to Brandon Marshall and the Denver Broncos. Jay Cutler didn't exactly give Brandon Marshall many opportunities to catch the ball. But Cowboys really struggled in this game. They were trailing the majority of the game. It came down to, I think, 35 seconds left in the game before Tony Romo handed it off with a nice shovel pass to Miles Austin, who ran it 59 yards downfield for a touchdown to tie the game and send it into overtime. Then again, in overtime, Kansas City wins the toss, unable to complete the job, charged downfield only to get a fourth and out. Again, Tony Romo connects with Miles Austin. Again, Miles Austin, huge day. Definitely MVP, definitely most valuable player of the weekend. 250 pass yards off 13 passes, 2 touchdowns for him. Huge game for Miles Austin. Definitely the go-to guy. We don't see a lot of him because he's the sub-in guy for Patrick Crayton, but obviously with Patrick Crayton injured this week, we saw a lot more of Miles Austin, and now we believe that he may in fact be Romo's new go-to guy. We've seen a lot of action between Romo and Jason Witten. Obviously now we're going to start to see a lot more between him and Miles Austin, showing that he is definitely a valuable receiver. Let's see. Moving into Jacksonville and Seattle. Matt Hasselbeck coming off a rib injury as well. Not the same sense of leisure we have here in Philadelphia. Donovan McNabb could have sat another week on the bench and rested and let Kevin Kolb come in and do his job. Not the same sense of leisure. There was a much more sense of urgency over in Seattle with Seneca Wallace. Seneca Wallace is not the greatest quarterback in the world. He was a wide receiver in college, but drafted as a quarterback. Played for the New England Patriots for a little while. They released him because he's not comfortable on the field. He's very nervous. He doesn't have a good stance. Never fires off the back foot enough. Passes are a little wobbly, not as accurate as they need to be. Can't put the ball. Same problems for the Seattle Seahawks in weeks 2 through 4. And coming into week 5, Seattle Seahawks brought Matt Hasselbeck back out onto the field. Huge day for Matt Hasselbeck, completing 21 of 30 passes. Not that great stat. Over 280 yards of offense. Very good. Actually putting up almost 341 yards of offense. And 4 touchdown passes for Matt Hasselbeck. So big return for Hasselbeck. Nate Burleson finally saying, "Hey, look, I'm back." Getting 2 touchdown passes, both off of 30 plus passes. So big game, shutting out Jacksonville 41-0. Definitely game of the week for them. The new trio in the NFL, obviously, it's the connection between Roddy White, Michael Turner, and Matt Ryan over in Atlanta, putting out a huge 45-10 victory this weekend. Definitely something they needed coming off of the bye week. Before the bye week, they went into New England, and a lot of people looked at the New England Patriots Falcons game, and they said, I don't know what's going to happen. Matt Ryan's on fire. Tom Brady can't keep his knees stable. Patriots came out of there with a win. Going into the bye week, they did a lot of practicing with Roddy White and Michael Turner and Matt Ryan, doing a lot of passes. Matt Ryan making sure all of his passes are right where they had to be, something that he's had a little trouble with this year in his accuracy. But definitely went out there and did work that during the bye week. Obviously showed great improvement. Roddy White putting up 3 touchdowns, almost 140 yards of offense. Michael Turner putting up 98 yards with 3 rushing touchdowns off of 17 attempts. So, very good weekend for Atlanta Falcons. Definitely something they need to do going into next week. They have a much tougher game coming up next week than they do this week. But definitely a new trio arising in the NFL between Roddy White, Michael Turner, and Matt Ryan. Moving into Baltimore. A little bit upsetting. These Bengals are coming out of nowhere. Bengals putting up a nice 3-2 record right now. It's look at the Bengals are back. Carson Palmer obviously coming back this week, showing that he is Carson Palmer. He does what he does best. Pulling out with a late touchdown with 17 seconds left in the game to pull ahead of the Baltimore Ravens, who struggled a little bit. Joe Flacco only threw for 1 touchdown and managed to throw 2 interceptions at the same time. So Joe Flacco stuttering a little bit over there on Baltimore after a few weeks of passing dominance. You know, the Ravens are a very run-heavy team, but Joe Flacco showed, hey, I can still throw the ball. We still have that kind of offense. It just didn't. It didn't happen this week. Ed Reed, Jamal, and Ray Lewis were not where they needed to be. Ray Rice couldn't get his job done. Willis McGahee, same problems. So really struggled for Ravens. They definitely need a pickup going into next week when they go up against Minnesota. Minnesota's secondary is much more elusive, and they know how to catch the ball. They will pick Joe Flacco off if he is not careful, as will they stop Ray Rice if that need be. So going into next week, I'm going to say game of the week is going to be New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints, 5-0 versus 4-0. If you ask me, the only team in the NFL right now that stands a chance at stopping Drew Brees' pass offense is the New York Giants. So that's going to be my game of the week, and I will see you guys next Monday.